values which are forming at least 5% of the given category. Like these are the accounts total put together is forming around 44% of the given category. Now, this is where I'll go for 100% verification of transactions because we are having a value related stratification here. So I'll go for 100% verification of these transactions. So just to mention the value based, I'll go for transaction verification. So just to summarize, we picked up 80% of the products. Out of that, again, I'm considering more like 50% of the accounts which are forming the major profile of the branch to go for a value based, that is transaction based verification. What is transaction based verification? Obviously, we are going to see the couple of statements, how it is to be imported, how we are going to match. We'll see an interesting rule which is actually meant for something else. We can use it for our own purpose. Okay. Coming back to this is the value based. Okay. The same, again, I'll create one more pivot. This time, instead of value, I'll take up a count. As you can see, the summary of values, what I've used is not values. I've used a count of this. Now, what I'll be using this count for? This shows me the branch in which area it is concentrating more on. This count is nothing but the number of files branch is holding. Now, this branch is holding around 49 cash credit accounts, PMJDY around 29 accounts, home loan around 24 accounts, personal loan around 13 accounts, so and so. Now, again, within this, I'll pick up the major part of those which are forming. If you can see, this is working around 77% of the total files. Okay, and especially those which have been sanctioned during the year, because obviously, if I'm speaking about sanction, that's where I'll get to see the fresh documents, whatever with regard to eligibility and all. Now, these I'll pick up so-called volume. We'll call it as volume. Earlier we call it as value. We call it as volume, and here I'll go for more of document verification. Now, if you see two areas, one leaving apart the threshold is fine. That way, anyway, we have to go for 100% verification of those files falling beyond 10% of the advances. Even within those, I'm trying to pick up majority possible, where I'm segregating which are to be checked as transactions, which are to be checked as documentation. Now, to summarize, if I'm picking up this 43%, it's nothing but I'm going for so-called the transaction audit, the first clause of LFAR, where it is mentioning about going for the transaction detailed audit. Now, at least I'm taking care of 45 to 50% of the transaction review of the majority of the given branch. And by speaking about documentation, I'm addressing the third clause, which is nothing but the data integrity, which speaks about data integrity. If you just remember once again, just to throw up that screen once again, I'm mentioning about the data integrity because it says it has to be the way, I mean, the kind of controls what it has, the process it has, while the information is going to the MIS level, the corporate MIS level. Now, this obviously the data integrity can be established basically from the document more than anything. It's not that directly I can go to the field to see whether the relevant controls are there or not. If the documents are proper, then comes to the next level of controls and all. But initially, it starts with the documentation part. So by doing so, I'm taking care of one transaction testing, that is value based, volume based. I'm addressing both the transaction as well as the data integrity part. Okay. So likewise, you can plan upon this stratification while identifying which area to be focused on what, so that in the given time, at least you're coming out with a proper kind of sample. Now, this is about sampling. Now, next starts about documentation. Documentation, nothing less than our SCS. You just need to follow those auditing standards. In fact, the draft guidance note, exposure draft, let me just share that screen. It is there very much open till March 4th. It has yet to be released, but still you can use that exposure draft for some references. Okay, wherein it has covered many good points in terms of the documentation, in terms of the areas you shall be looking into. It runs into around 975 pages, but I think no, nothing best time than this to go through this particular document. So you can just go through that. It has made so many changes compared to the LFR as adopted. And not only that, they've also covered the latest circular, which is released on September 14, which speaks about automation of NPS. Okay. So this is one you can probably know. You can just go through this exposure draft along with the combination of SCS to document what kind of information you have to document in terms of creating audit evidences. Okay. Now, this is about the sampling. So what we'll do is we'll straight away get into the technicalities about taking up each of those, how to import the data more than anything. And we'll see certain interesting areas about interpretation, the interesting areas about analysis, and simple functions which can help us in the given short period of time. Okay. And of course, speaking about all those moratorium related circulars and those circulars in terms of interest subvention and all, that shouldn't be challenging, because now obviously certificate while you're issuing, don't just rely upon the certificate what they have given in terms of summarized interest subvention. Ask for the detailed computation what they have done, then that's where probably you can match with the, don't directly go into it, because no, you might say that 2% is what net effect. You can't just completely take up the gross value and calculate 2%. It's better that you get a detailed information to see whether that is eligible as an MSME or whether eligible as an agricultural sector, so that the respective circulars of interest subvention can be applied. Okay. And one aspect, like as SBI has taken the shelter of Gajendra Sharma case, maybe other banks might also probably tempted to go for it. But as I said, this is only relevant for only SBI. The case has been given in the favor of SBI, not for other banks. So other banks can't take the shelter of this particular case study. They have to individually work out their own NPA provisions. So SBI has taken the benefit of reduction in NPA by 2 to 3% by virtue of this Gajendra Sharma case. Just don't rely on this particular, because this is only applicable for the SBI. If others have to go for, they have to file respective cases. Then only until the hearing is there, obviously, we have to go with the moratorium clause as it is applicable in terms of circular. Okay. Now coming to the data input, what we'll do is we'll start with the least possible data input, that is a normal bank statement. Then we'll go to the next level of each of those bank statements. Okay. Just give me a minute. I'll open the file. Now, while understanding about the data extract, whatever data extract, you just if you can highlight on three important aspects. I'm just mentioning, taking the help of whiteboard. Let's say if I have to describe about the servers, what bankers have, there are like three different servers. One application server, which is like the live, so-called the counter server, wherein all these information, what the cashier or for that matter, any of this happens, it will be happening through application server. Then you have the so-called live server or backend. It's more like a database server. Okay. The third one is the reporting server. Now, out of these, while you walk into the bank, the report what they share is be generated from the reporting server. Other two more like a fixed width of format what they follow, but the one what we are getting, these are the servers from where customer is logging into online banking portal and is generating a statement. This is where he'll get the information, more like a fixed width of setting what it will have. Like if I'm speaking about width, any particular statement will be having a maximum limit of 145 fields. So accordingly, they'll fix up those fields for saying the 12 fields to the date, narration, so and so, so and so. So these two servers, it's not a problem, but we'll be getting our reports from the reporting server. And one more important aspect, if in case you're raising a query, asking for any particular report of various periods. Okay, while mentioning about the periods, let me also mention what kind of minimum reports you can ask for. Okay, one, of course, the ledger balancing report. The terms might be changing, but ultimately what we are looking for is the ledger balances of each customer ID as on 31st of March. Then you have SA report, that is standard assets report. Then you have substandard. Then you have probable NPA. Then you have doubtful. These will be generated independently. All these reports can be generated, and last but not the least, the NPA report. Now, if some banker says it might take some time to generate this, it's not so. Please understand that these reports are not generated at the end of the financial year. These are the reports which will be generated every day and stored in the local server of the given branch. It's only that they need to identify which particular server, this Finacle or banks or whatever they are storing. Once you identify that particular folder, you just need to browse to the relevant month and the relevant date to extract whatever you're asking for. And these reports shall be generated at least 5 different days. Please ensure that you request these reports to cover at least 5 different dates, one of which obviously should be either March or April 2020. When I'm saying about this current year, it has to be either opening or the last year closing kind of reports, whatever these 7 reports I'm mentioning about. Other one maybe in the June end, the other one could be September end, other one could be December end, and the last is of course the March 2021. Okay, so ensure that whatever reports you are asking for, don't just take as on 31st of March. See that you get 5 different dates. These can be randomly picked up, the dates and all apart from 31st of March. Ensure that you get all these reports for 5 different dates. Now, as I said, banker might say this might take time. It's not about time in generating, it's only to search through the given folder, because these are all there very much in the EOD reports of the given local server. They just need to browse and pick up that particular file. Okay. Now, the advantage of having 5 different dates is we can do a simple gap analysis, saying that, let's say if I'm picking up a particular standard report, standard assets report, as on the first month, what is the balance of the total accounts? As on the next month, that is June, what is the balance? September, what was the balance? I can keep comparing between each of the period and analyze the raise or reduction in those. Thereby, I can form a triggers. I can probably go for which particular area I should be concentrating more on particular category or whatever. Okay, so this will help out to do a gap analysis or more like a trigger analysis kind of thing. Okay, so this is where you can make use of this particular. Now, the report server, what we are trying to extract, the banker provides, will have 2 formats. Either it could be fixed width or it could be a delimiter. Delimiter, again, each of the bank will follow their own. Like say if SBI is following this, it follows a code called 124. Okay, if I'm speaking in terms of Excel, like other banks might follow in hyphens, other banks might follow a slash, whatever. But ultimately, if we have a delimiter, it's as good as we can import easily into the Excel. Fixed width is a little troublesome because you need to identify at which part my actual length of the given text is there. Okay. As I said, report server handles both. So you need to analyze what kind of statement you are provided with. Okay. Now coming back to our Excel import, let's say, let me just pick up one sample file. Let's say I'm trying to import a bank statement, a general bank statement. So I'll first display the bank statement. See, importing bank statement can again be done in 2 different ways. One, either you open the file, copy and paste over here, or you can directly go to data, click on the from text while selecting that particular file. Now the screen, what we are seeing here is the latest version of Office 365. So no worries about the kind of version you are using. If you are using anything after 2013, you will have the similar screen. But for those who are using prior to the version 2007, 10 and all, the screen might be different, but the features will be more or less same. The same kind of import, except for you might not have web resources and other connections, so-called connection, because from 2013 onwards, it's more of an RDBMS concept what Excel has adopted. So otherwise, still you can extract. It's only that the steps might be different. I mean, so the screens might be different, but the steps are going to be the same. So let's say I am trying to import something based on the bank statement. So let me just browse to that particular folder. Let's take up a normal bank statement. And most of the time, if I'm requesting a customer bank statement, there will be a fixed width. It's only that the day-end reports, so-called SA reports or the so-called day-end reports, overdue reports, all these will be more of delimited. But a specific reports in terms of customer and all, mostly it will be generated in a fixed width. So that way, at least if you're done with one particular file, that should be comfortable. Now, as I was saying, the screens might differ. This screen may not be there for those who are using 2007-10. It might take directly to a particular text to column kind of field. Doesn't matter. It's going to be this additional step. It may not be there in the earlier version, but still the other parts will be same. So here what I'll do is I'll just straight away load. Okay, for youngsters who are familiar with the Power Query and all, they can directly use transform and go for splitting of the data. Otherwise, you can go with the normal screen. What happens is transform is I can identify what kind of delimiter I shall be going for, or what is the fixed width. I just need to mention saying that 12, 30, 50, so it's nothing but the field partitions where I want to place it. That's the only difference what we have in transform. Otherwise, you can go with the same thing. So once I import, as I said, considering the latest version, it will be imported as a table format because it goes with the connection of the external link, whatever we have. Now, let me just try to go with the regular steps. Now, as I said, for the earlier versions, it might take directly to this screen more than anything. I mean, your earlier screen may not be there for the earlier versions. Now, let's say this is an example of fixed width, as I said, a normal bank statement. So I'll go with the fixed width partition. So here again, it can be considered as a typical task or could be considered as an easy task. The way you understand the length of, I mean, the way they put these partitions and all. See, easy for us to go with the data type. When I'm saying data type, you have to either it will be text or a number. And when I say number, either date or time or any other will be also a number format. It's only that the display is different, but otherwise both are of number format, both the date and the number. So I'll take the clue based on the kind of data type what I'm dealing with. As I said, date is a number, so it will be always left aligned. In case of database, even otherwise you are using MS Access or any kind of database, the data will be left aligned if it in case of a number, or if in case of text, it will be right aligned. So I'll take the clue from that and accordingly place my partitions. So let's say I'm placing my partition exactly at the end of the date, because we know that this is a left aligned. I can go with, or probably I take the lead from this, because this is text. Text is always left aligned, so I can take hint from either of these. Coming to the next one, probably you can either take the clue from the relevant column or probably take the lead from the following column. Now, following column, if you see, it speaks about reference. Though it is having zeros, still it could capture the values prior to the number. That means it is nothing but a text. Even otherwise, this is left aligned, so I can make out this is a text defined column. I'll place the partition exactly at the beginning of that. So as in other fields, I'll just follow the leads based on the kind of data what I'm dealing with. Wherever it is not required, you double click. Wherever it's required, you just place a single click so that you can place the partitions. So I'll go with the other parts and the next screen. And next screen, usually in the normal statement, will not have any relevant columns, but otherwise you want to exclude such columns, you can opt anytime, do not import this column. Okay. Usually in bank statement, you don't want to miss out any column, so you don't opt for that. But other things what we can make use of is, let's say, if the date is in MMDD format, let's say if I'm saying about 2-1-2021, whether it is 2-1-2021 or 1-2-2021 will be defined based on your system configuration. We are not sure. So basically what we can do is, of course, that simple example, I'll show it later stage. But as of now, what we'll do is, let's say date is in a full form, 1st of August, so I can go with it. Whatever I want to retain in a different format, let's say I want to have these zeros. Let's say while having these zeros in front, it makes my VLOOKUP job easy, because going with a text kind of VLOOKUP is more comfortable than going with a number kind of VLOOKUP. So that way I want to convert this column into a text kind of format. So as other things, so I can just say finish, so that it will convert back to a range wherein I'm having a data statement imported. Now, the second challenge comes is how we are going to refine or clean this data. Now, the easiest way is, first of all, ensure that whatever data you have on the top, you see that at least your first row where you have your respective column headings will be on the top. I'm going to delete the top row to ensure that my first row starts with the heading. Okay. Then see that the data following is connected to the respective labels. These are the first step, what I've done. Now coming to second, here you have various blanks in between. You might have two narrations overflowing into 2 rows, or narrations overflowing into 3 rows or 5 rows. You don't have control on that. If it is like same throughout the bank statement, like in this case, it's only that everywhere it is 2 rows of data which is overflowing. I can make a simple join. We'll see the other way also. I can make a simple join where I want to join on the date column, because that is where you have the debits, credits, and the balance. So I'll make a join exactly on the first row. So what I'll do is I'll insert a column where I'll join these 2 texts. Now, there are again 2 different ways of sorting the data. Either you place your cursor on the A1, say Control-Shift-End, select the entire data to the last cell, convert into a table using Control-T. That is one way. By doing so, you can see all those blanks or irrelevant data which you want to exclude. That is one way. Or better way is, probably you can just copy a formula throughout the range till the last part, so that that column will help you bind the data throughout the table. Okay, so both ways you can adopt. Let me just follow the second step where I want to copy this throughout the table. So I'll say Control-End to go to the last part of the table, place it in that column where I have copied the formula. I say Control-V. Now, as I said, throughout this particular range, I have this formula which has helped me bind this entire table so that my filters or the sorting will be properly working. Let me just copy the same heading and also copy the formula to retain the data within that. So just copy and paste special as values. That's what I've done. Now, once I've done that, two fields you should concentrate on to properly clean. If you have a date column, more like any customer statement, obviously it will have a date column, the transaction files and all. If you have a date column, nothing like that, because Excel will auto group those dates. Auto group in the sense in terms of months, quarters, years. So that way you can easily expand, collapse, you want to untick or retain or unfilter, everything can be done if you have a date column. So in this case, we have a date column. Now, what if you don't have a date column? Obviously, better way is to identify that column where you have numbers, because as you know, even if you filter the values, the numbers will be on the top of your filter and the rest of all will be in the bottom of your filter. So that way you can exclude whichever is not relevant. Let's say I'm going with the date column. So easiest way, I just select in the corner of the sheet by selecting the entire sheet. I'll go to sort. I'll sort the data while enabling my data headers, because that's where I've done first row. I've ensured that my column labels are there. I'll pick up the date. I'll sort it in a ascending order. Now at one go, whatever we are looking for, all the sequential data are coming into one particular row. The rest of all, whatever junk is there has flown to the bottom of the screen. So I can start my analysis straight from here, or I don't want to even carry those junk data. I can just apply a filter, Control Shift L, see the drop down of this date. As I said, the date has an automatical group, it'll auto group in the Excel. I'm going to collapse this, untick the date part so that the date part is unfiltered. Only the filtered is all the junk data. I'll say okay. While placing my cursor on the top, I'll say Control Shift End, Control minus, get rid of all the junk. Control minus will delete those respective rows. And once I remove a filter, I'm having my data properly aligned. Now, whatever steps we have done, of course, once we have done, best way is always check up on the balances, because while partition, by chance, you might miss out some fields. So not to happen that you might cross check whether you have done it properly. So you can always use this formula to cross check whether you have worked out the proper way. So you can just check on the last part, whether the balance is matching. Not just about the last part. Again, if in case the report is generated before you, that's fine. But if a banker has shared it, not to mention about anything about the banker and all, but as we, it speaks about skepticism. That is more important in current LFR. You have to probably carry that throughout your audit. I doubt this statement provided by the banker. So I want to ensure that I've come across right. So I'll just probably verify if the statement is proper. I'll again cross check with the balances so that to see everywhere it is 0. If not, I'll apply a filter, and here intentionally this particular example I've taken where I excluded this transaction. So we might, if you remove this filter, you could see that a particular transaction has been removed in this, and may not be in this particular case, but a couple of years back I've come across in one bank wherein intentionally they've removed certain check bounces and certain related party transactions before they share my statement to me. So I have not just importing, I need to cross verify the data what I've taken care. Because mostly what we'll do, we'll see the top, okay, perfect. We'll see the bottom, everything is perfect. Okay, that's how we'll ensure, but it's not about the top and the last part. You also verify the in between. So that's where you're trying to ensure that everything has been proper, the statement at least been provided proper. Now, whatever steps we have done this, do we have to do this again and again for each statement? It's not required. You whatever simple steps you have done, you just record on the macro and let it flow through. I don't want to risk on recording the macro, because the problem here is while we are going for these virtual conferences, there will be conflict of application. If I'm running a macro, Zoom or either Excel will crash. So I don't want to risk on that. But otherwise, these are the few simple steps. Whatever simple steps you have done, let it be recorded right from the beginning of copy pasting till the last part. Just see how it is working. And 95% it will be successful, unless you are clicking on some other wrong parts and all. Otherwise, whatever steps you have done, it's a smooth flow of steps what you have done. So you record that. Next time when you are trying to import in a bank statement, you just click on that macro to get that generated. Okay, I believe I've recorded. Yeah, it's not there anyway. So using the macro recording for whatever steps you can import. Now, this is one way of importing what we have seen. You might question saying that, okay, that's fine. But in case, if not for two values, What is that I have to do? For that, I've just taken one example for the Bombay chapter. I'll just take up the same example here. Let's say I have the statement where they're uneven. Uneven in the sense, couple of transactions, the narrations are in 3 rows. Couple of transactions, there is no overflow. Couple of transactions, it has overflowed into 2 areas only. And couple of transactions, let's take up one more example. Say it is instead of in 3 rows, it is in 4 rows. Now, this is totally uneven. Unlike earlier, if it is in 2 rows, I could join those 2 texts. But here, there is no common. Everywhere it is just it is different type, 3 rows, 2 rows, 1 row. How come we can join these texts? For this, you can simply follow a normal functions. Those who are using prior to 2010, they can use concat as a function. You type concat, it will help you to take this particular function. And those who are using after 2013, let me just mention over here, you can use text join. Text join is a function which was introduced at the later stage. Again, when I say later stage, it's not about the latest 2000, Office 365 or 2019. Those who are using Office 2016 also, if you update your patch, it might also incorporate certain latest formulas. So because 2016 onwards, it is more of RDBMS concept, or even otherwise from 2013, 2016 patch, latest patch has updated the latest formulas. So I suggest you go to the file and account, try to update so that you'll have the latest formulas as well. Now, what exactly is text join or concat? I'll probably take up concat, which is there throughout various versions. So what I'll do is, let me cut and paste somewhere else for the reference. Now I'll use concat. Before doing concat, what I'll do is I'll label these respective transactions. Okay, I'll filter based on the dates. Wherever date is there, I'll mention that as 1, 2. It's just probably you need to add up that particular one. Okay, 1 plus 1, so that you can copy the same formula throughout the entire tables. Sorry, let it be 3, 4. Okay. Now, once I have done that, the next step is I'll fill up these blanks with the one which is above. Okay, so I'll place, if it is like entire table, I can select the entire column. Or if you know that the table is up to certain place, you can select those. You go to home, you click on find and select. You say go to special, go to that blanks area and say okay. So this is going to select all those blank areas. I'll say equal to copy the above formula. Control enter. Once they say so, everything will be copied below that. I'll just copy and paste as special so that I will not carry formulas. Now, once I have done that, I'll use a concept of a function called countif. What countif does is, if I'm counting this one throughout this table, how many number of ones are there? Or how many number of twos are there? How many number of fours are there? With that, I'll use a combination of offset. Okay, let's see what is the formula. So I'm using concat, wherein I'm using offset. Offset is a function which will help you to move between the table. While doing so, you can select either a range of rows, a range of columns, or both. So it starts with the reference. Because I want to concatenate at this particular cell, I'll say C2. How many number of rows? It is in the same row. I'll say 0. Column is also 0. So by default, if I'm saying 0, 0, it is going to stay in the same cell. So far, I haven't moved anywhere. Now, while staying here, I want to join these 3. So my height is 3 rows, whereas column is the same column. So while to pick up these 3 rows, that is where I'll make use of count. So I'm going to say countif, where I'll count the respective entire column matching with this particular figure. And I'll say comma 1. 1 is the same column. Okay, 1 column, I want to join these 3. Now what countif does? It will count 1 in the entire column. So obviously it is going to get 3. So height will be 3. So thereby the concat will join those 3 in the given function. So what I just need to do is copy, paste it across the table. Now, obviously, it might paste for other cells also, but once we apply a filter, date is very much intact. So if I'm applying a filter of the date, I can see the respective narrations. Now, whether it is, if it is 4 narrations, let me just move this aside. Now, if it is 3 narrations, it has joined 3 narration. If it is 1, it has kept as 1. If it is 2 or 4, it is going to join irrespective of whatever gaps you have. Ultimately, you are getting all the narration. Why you should be getting narration is, it's not about the balances what we are looking for. The textual field also is very much important for our bank. Text analysis, so-called text analysis, because sometimes narration gives more. Because if I'm speaking about a bearer check, a particular name, I'm not sure whether that the party payment or a cash withdrawal. So unless I go to the narration part, I'll not make out whether that is a bearer check or a party payment. So narration is crucial for us to identify what is the filters we are going to apply. So that's the reason I'm ensuring that all the narrations are in sync with the respective date and the respective transaction. Okay, this is about concatenating and all. So we have seen a one aspect of statement input, one normal input. What we'll do is we'll go to the next kind of data input, wherein I'll not pick up on the standard assets or ledger balances file and all. Of course, time permits, at the end we'll see that. But let's try to pick up those important areas where we might come across. One is, of course, they give it in a text file. And let's say, as I've requested for 5 different dates of reports, may it be a standard assets report or doubtful assets, banker has provided, let's say he has provided different accounts. Let me share the folder screen. Yeah, hope the screen is visible to you.
Yes. Okay. It is visible. I think you have some CCOD balances.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. So here, banker, we are not trying to import just one file. Yeah, banker might provide 5 files, 10 files, 30 files as we require. Now, do I have to keep on importing each and every text to the Excel? If I have to do so, my entire 10 days will go in importing. Is it not? So I don't want to risk that. Instead, I can make a simple use of the Excel feature where I can import all the files which are available in a given folder. So for this, as I said, if you have any version from 2013, nothing like that, you'll enjoy your bank audit. But if you're having prior version, it might create certain troubles in terms of you can't import all the files at one go. You have to do it again one by one. So that's the reason probably I suggest you go for updating your latest version. This is the time if you have to invest, obviously. Now I'll go to data. To import, I'll say get data, where you have this first option called from file. There I'll choose from folder. So I'll browse to that particular folder where I have the relevant files. Okay, I'll browse to that CCOD. These are the 5 different dates what I requested. Though it doesn't display, it has chosen the folder. I'll say open. So what this Excel will do is, through a port, it will establish a connection with the relevant folder and display all the files to us. Now, these particular files might be of different format, as long as they are in having the same kind of information. Let's say, what I meant to say is, if I'm having CCOD 4 files given in text format, 1 file provided in PDF format, 1 file provided in XML format, doesn't matter, provided all are carrying the same kind of data. It's only banker intentionally or otherwise might have missed out to export in the same format. So he might export in different formats which has similar data, but Excel doesn't bother. Irrespective of whatever format is, it is going to combine all those things. What I'm going to do is, while I display that, I'll go to this option. Okay, so-called, this is an ETL concept, that it export, transform, and load. That's what this particular concept of Power BI follows, or for that matter, any analytical application follows. So here, I'll try to combine and load. So what I'm saying is, whatever files you are displaying above, you just combine those and call up into my Excel sheet. Now, the beauty of this establishing a connection is, as you can see, there will be connection established on the right side. You can see the screen where it is establishing connection from all the folders or files, whatever done. Now it has picked up this. As usual, the same kind of text to column format. I'll just say OK so that it will load. Now, the advantage of creating connection is, say banker has provided 5 accounts. You already created a connection, you have imported, you have refined everything, you have done properly. But after a certain stage, you wanted to add 5 more files, which you have sampled at the later stage. Now, do you have to do this again and again? It's not required. What you need to do is just dump those 5 files in that particular folder where you have established the connection with Excel. Excel will automatically establish connection with the other 5 files once you click refresh. So that's the advantage of importing from a folder. Irrespective of how many files you keep on adding, just say refresh, Excel will keep on importing. So that way you're saving time in creating the connections and also importing. So first thing first, I don't want to have in a table format, because as I said, my first step is to ensure that my column labels will be on the top of the row. So I'm going to convert this back to range. So right click, I'll say table, I'll convert it to range. Once I have done so, I'll just ensure that my top row contains the column labels. Now, again, the kind of refinement, what we have to do, it could be fixed width or delimiter. We don't have any delimiters here. So I'll go with the fixed width. I'll say data, text to columns, opt for the fixed width. Just go with the data type, what I'm dealing with. It's a number, right aligned, text, left aligned, not a problem. So again, here it's a text. I'll ensure that I placed it exactly there. Also here, rate, limit, could be your old IRAC norms or the new IRAC norms, whatever fields you have. And here, if you're having plus, don't skip those, because this is nothing but whether it is a debit or credit. If you are having plus, usually database, what it will do, if it is a negative, automatically it will autocorrect and place the negative before the number. Unlike in case of plus, it is going to retain the same place at the end. So of course, using simple find and replace, we can modify that, not a problem. So I'm going to go with the other fields. Wherever amounts are there, I'll go with the right alignment. So and so.
Vijay sir, sorry to disturb, sir. The screen is not visible to the participant.
It's not visible. One second.
It is that CCOD that.
I'm sorry. I got it.
In fact, not moving.
Yeah, sorry.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Sorry. Thanks for updating. Yeah. Let me just do it again. This is what happens. Entire screen can't be shared anyway. So I'm going. Hope it is Excel is visible.
We are all following and observing your presentation, Vijay.
Oh, thank you. So here, hope Excel is visible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
No.
So here, as I said, I'll say from folder more than anything. Okay. So I'm going to click on the folder where I have my files. I'll say open. So I just to repeat, as I said, this is going to establish a connection with the relevant folder. This is probably you missed out format, it may be. I'll say combine and load. So all files will be loaded into my Excel. While doing so, as I said, just to repeat, even if you are adding few more files into the folder, by refreshing yourself, refreshing this given file, it is going to update all the information into the given file. So no matter it is 5 files or 50 files, are you going to add at the later stage, still the connection will be there and it is going to import. I'll say okay, so that get loaded into my A1 column. It's only the first time it might take a couple of seconds to establish a connection. But once it is established, it's just a click of a button. Place a file in the given folder, say refresh, automatically the data will be pulled into your Excel. So yeah, now as I said, this is where you place a file in the folder, you say refresh, automatically it will get updated in the given file. Now I want to ensure that this is not in a table format. I want to have it in a range format. So that is where I said right click. I'll say convert into range so that I'll have it into a range format. As usual, I'll ensure that my top row will be the column headings. Then I want to refine this. While refining, obviously we don't have any delimiters like comma and all. So obviously it is going to be fixed width. While going with the fixed width, I'll follow the same steps. Data, text to columns. I'll say fixed width, place the partitions. This is what I was saying about follow the data type, number and all. Where it is a text, you can place the text exactly on the left side because that is always left aligned. Go with the flow of those data types. And wherever you have the respective plus signs and all, don't ignore to retain those. This is what I was saying. Don't escape this particular plus. Let it be there because that mentions whether it is a debit or credit. Okay, as I was saying, if it is minus, automatically that will be moving towards the front. If once I import, this minus will move to the front, thereby mentioning it as a negative figure. But in positive figures, it is still going to retain as a plus only. It doesn't matter. We can use find and replace. Going with the flow, I'll just run with the steps. Yeah. So once I've done with, I can say finish, provided unless you want to retain something else separately in terms of text format and all. So once I say finish, it will get imported into this. I'll auto fit the entire data. Now, one thing we have already imported. Okay, then we have to refine it in a way that I'll get all the details in a proper sequence. Okay, to do so, we'll again follow the same steps what we have done. But in this case, this being a report, end of the day report, it doesn't have date column. So what I'll take is I'll take the lead from the numbers. That's where I said if I'm applying a filter, all the numbers will be on the top and other junk will go to the bottom of that particular table. So what I'll do is I'll just untake. It's just matter of maybe 5 to 10 rows. I just need to manually do this. If I want to skip this, then again, I have to go with some function called is number and all. But anyway, I don't want to complicate this stage. So I'm going to manually check which is not required. Now this is not required. I'll say okay. While placing my cursor on top of the table, that is A2, I'll say Control Shift and End. I'll say Control minus. So I'm getting rid of all the junk. And once I remove the filter, again, we have the data in a proper format. So this is a CCOD file, which includes not just 1 month, is all the files. This is for the month of April 2019, and this is for the month of December. So it has all the 5 files which I have imported, everything running into one single file. Now, if I sort down, I get all the customers in a sequential order. Okay. And to refine further, obviously, we don't want to have this plus sign to be removed. I don't want to carry this plus sign. So I'll just copy. I'll say find replace plus with replace with nothing. So that way I got my positive values and negative values. Now you can see this tire. Tire usually speaks about a deviation from the interest rate. If I'm seeing the interest rate that is fixed at the master level while updating the interest rates, if I'm seeing tire, there could be 2 aspects. One could be a privileged customer where they have taken a special permission, or could be interest subvention, or it could be a manual intervention while they are changing the rate. That is where it will capture as a tire. So my focus will be on those fields which are having tire. That means it's not flowing with the master of the interest rate. So I have to focus why there is an interest benefit given to this. Could be interest subvention, or otherwise could be a privileged customer while they have negotiated in terms of interest. So these are the areas which you can make use of. Coming to other parts, obviously it has captured all the information what we were looking for. Now, from here, let me take you directly to the CCOD file to proceed with the further analysis. Of course, we are going to see a couple of more inputs, but before doing so, we'll try to analyze this CCOD file while taking a live file. Okay. So coming back to our sample file. Now, this is the file which I've actually imported based on the live data. Okay. Now, what it has is, it has all the information right from the March 2019 to whatever dates you have asked for. Now, what I'll do is, if you remember, we were asking the other reports as well. We asked for probable NPA, we asked for standard assets, substandard. We'll do all those imports. As I said, it doesn't require each one time. If they are sharing 10 probable NPA reports of 10 different dates, just import one time, it will get imported into your Excel. Okay. Hope I am sharing the right screen. Okay. And standard assets is another thing which I've imported. Substandard asset, another file which I've imported. Doubtful assets, loss assets, all these I'll place into one single file where I have my master data, that is CCOD file. Now the same file has the information of all the different reports generated on the same dates for the same customer in different dates. Okay, now I'll start my basic kind of analysis. What kind of basic analysis? Let's say I go to CCOD, go to the last part, do a simple VLOOKUP. I want to find out whether this customer is there in any of the general reports, whatever requested, specific reports, whatever requested. I'm looking in probable NPA, I'm looking in standard asset, I'm looking in substandard, doubtful, loss asset. Okay, so I'm going to check whether this customer is there in any of the given accounts. Okay, so I'm mapping this customer with different kind of reports. Now, once I get that, I'll apply a filter. I'll go with each of the field. Let's say first I'm checking on the probable NPA. Now, probable NPA, I have a couple of accounts which are there in probable NPA and also in standard asset. So I'm going to filter those which are there in standard assets to check whether it is a genuine reason that it has moved from probable to NPA. Probable NPA, for your kind of information, those which are due for more than 60 days but haven't crossed the IRAC norms of 90 days. So that still it will be considered as a probable NPA. And these are all what I was saying about automation. That's what it's going to take from June 21 onwards. But as of now, we are still going with this particular report. Now, probable NPA, I'm having a file which is also standard assets. I'll pick up these files to check as on whether this probable NPA is throughout the year or only that it is there till February and suddenly in the month of March, it has moved into standard asset. As you can see, March, this account is nowhere there in the probable NPA. Why? Because it has moved into standard asset. Till February, it was there. So I'll pick up these files to check whether there is a genuine reason of repayment or whether there has been an ad hoc facility which a customer has been given or there could be a routing between related parties to see that the account has turned out to be a performing. So these are the accounts. If you see, it has picked up around 59 accounts. Okay, leaving those 5 periods, it could be like 12 accounts, which I'm concentrating more on this thing. The same way, you can analyze each of the field. You can probably go for the doubtful assets to see if any doubtful assets are there. Okay, whether they have turned out to be loss asset. If doubtful beyond 36 months, obviously bank has to take a call whether it has to be continued or to be considered as a loss asset. As you know, if it is a substandard for one-time NPA, that will be considered as substandard. More than 12 months, that will move into doubtful asset 1. Then more than 24 months, it will move into doubtful asset 2. More than 36 months, that is where it has to bank has to take a call whether that should be written off as a loss asset or still to be carried. Now I'll pick up these accounts to confirm whether there is a genuine reason to be still considered or whether it can be totally written off. Okay, because still they are not moving into loss asset, no matter for how long it is there in the doubtful asset. As you can see, it is there in the top of the year, that is March 2019, also there in the last part of the year. Okay, so this way, as I said, this is the advantage of picking up the reports from different dates, trying to compare. One, you are doing a gap analysis and also identifying those accounts which are there in a regular and also in the other formats, other reports such as probable NPA and NPA or whatever, sorry, substandard or whatever. Okay, this is one kind of analysis what you can do. Now moving to other kind of import. We have seen a normal text import. We have seen a multiple text import. Let's see if someone has provided a file. Let me just share the screen. Someone has provided a files in a PDF format. Now what we have to do if someone has provided a file in a PDF format? Now you would have come across certain situations where a customer has shared a PDF file, or otherwise you would have downloaded certain statements in PDF. What usually have PDFs will have is it has a security feature where it will disable you to copy, it will disable you to print. Okay, except for viewing, it will not allow any other things. But the beauty of the conflict between my VB script, which is used in Excel, and the JavaScript or other scripts which are used in either web or PDF is, because of that conflict, my Excel VB script can break through this PDF to capture whatever information is there. Otherwise, it may not permit me to copy by right clicking. But if I'm importing to Excel by using the Excel import feature, because of this conflict between the scripts, the feature, security features, whatever that PDF file has. When I say security, not about opening the file. Once you open, you could have seen right click will be disabled where you can't copy. So in that scenario, still I can make use of this Excel import. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to import that. Let me share this Excel screen where I want to import multiple PDFs. So I'm going to again go to this go with the same steps of from folder, choose that particular folder where you have multiple PDFs, say okay. It will get connected to the respective folder, displaying all the files which are there in the given folder. Okay, then I'll say combine and load. So that way I'm merging and also loading. And as I said, this is the feature which will breach through or break through all those securities where it was disabling us to right click, copy or print and all that stuff. Still we'll get the information. And not only that, this, as I said, connection is always live. Anytime you can keep on pumping more number of files so that you can call up all the information into given file. And the beauty of PDF is linking with the PDF is you'll have two kind of data structure. One is a structured data, one is an unstructured data. Usually in any kind of statement, the one which is in a tabular form is a text structured data. One which is on the headers, the footers, or some data where some kind of information in terms of notes or special notes and all that, there will be unstructured data. So what PDF import will do is it will divide between these two. It will display both. It will display those which are in structured format, which are not there in a structured format. So if I'm clicking on the table, you can see it captures all the structured format. You go to the page, you might have the same information, but they are in an unstructured format. So it will display both. As you can see, it has the headers, all that information, null values and all the stuff. My concentration, my interest will be more on the structured format because that is where we have our transactions. And the advantage of you going for the table is these are all auto aligned, auto partition, everything is proper. I just need to double click it. Once I do so, I get all those 10 or 12, 13 statements what we have in the given folder properly called up into the Excel while taking care of auto fit, auto alignment, so that I can straight away get into analysis part. Just it will take a couple of seconds to connect and import. You can see it says running background query. Obviously, it has to establish with different script called PDF. Try to connect, try to import. As I said, it's worth waiting. Yeah. Now, what you can see, it has imported all those different statements what you have properly named, where it has the narration, the dates, the withdrawals, deposits. You can straight away get into the analysis, whether you want to create a pivot or you want to analyze textual based and all. That's fine. You can do with it. Okay. Now, this is another kind of import where we are importing from multiple PDFs. Okay. Now, the fourth one, very typical. In fact, I don't know whether this is the culture what they have adopted to get rid of asking more information by us. Bankers have started providing the information in Excel. No matter, they were providing the information in Excel, but the way they were providing was more worrying. Okay, I'll just share the file and explain what exactly I meant to say. We'll take up any question and answers at the end. I think a few people are mentioning the chat area. Not we'll keep the last 10 minutes or so for reserved for the question and answers. Yeah. Now this is the file. As I was saying, banker, yeah, they obliged our request. They have provided the information in Excel. As you are asking for in Excel, take it. You have given it in Excel. But in what form they have given the Excel? Now you can see this is even worse because you have merge, center, wrap. Statement is flowing all over throughout the Excel. There is no proper linking between the transactions. There are certain junk data in between. They are going into merge fields. It's like more worse than the text field. Okay. So they said that, okay, we are obliging, take the Excel file, but it's of no use for the reason that it is totally in a different unstructured format. Now, in these scenarios, how come we have to overcome so that I can get into a proper format? Now, this particular file is so close to my kind of analysis because whenever we speak about NPAs or for that matter, probable NPA and all, system concentrates more on the term loans. Okay, ODCC, they'll be there anyway. But it is a straight formula for term loans to classify an account as NPA. And that is where bankers also concentrate more. You need to understand that in a deviation matrix, bankers branch has certain powers to modify, and they might call it fancily as rescheduling or restructuring or whatever. But unless we go through the circular or internal communication, I can't justify whether there is a genuine reason behind those restructuring or rescheduling and all. So by virtue of that, what they are given is they are having a so-called permission to modify the period of the loan, modify the date field of the loan. These two are enough to provide manipulate any kind of report. Just modify the EMI date, modify the loan period. You can skip the respective probable NPA and NPA. And that is where we are facing more risk. So-called automation, even I doubt openly I'm saying, though, even if it is automation, still unless these particular fields are removed from the control from the local branch, still we are having the risk of having a manipulated kind of statement, whether it is NPA or probable NPA. Now, this is the statement what banker has provided. I have asked for say 30 statements. 30 statements here generated in a proper file, everything in a single file, but only challenge is nothing is in a proper format. Now I have to come out, rearrange it in a proper format. Now coming back, I'll use a simple function. First thing first, what I'll do is I'll just remove the merge. Don't worry while removing the merge because data is not going anywhere. It is going to retain. Like if you can see, though this bank XYZ bank is throughout A to M, the address of that is A1. It is going to retain in one particular cell. You are not going to lose that by removing that. It's only that it has moved into a particular starting cell of the given reference. Okay, so I'm going to do that wherein I'll remove the merge and center throughout the file. And also I don't want to carry the wrap. So I'll be removing the wrapping of the text also so that everything is in a proper sequence. Now, once I have done that, I'll identify, second thing what we have is these transactions. If I'm applying a filter, if I'm sorting down based on the date, what we thought of, I don't know for which customer this statement transaction belongs to because it starts with a header. Nowhere it refers to customer name until unless I tag those respective rows. It happens throughout the statement unless I tag it, it's of no use if I'm doing a sort. So for that, I'll use a simple if function. I'll do it in such a way that I'll use that function not only to tag the respective dates and also use that as a binding column throughout my data. As you can remember, the easy way of filtering or sorting the data is to bind all the data by using any particular column. I'm going to use if functions. So for that, let's say I want to import three or four important. Let's say I want to have the customer name. So I'm going to capture the customer name. So as the maybe I want to have the customer ID as well. So I'm going to copy customer ID. I want to have the account number. I'll copy the account number. So as with the chart, maybe this way it defines what kind of loan it is. So I'm going to use that as well. So I have four different columns of this information. Now I'm going to use this. Of course, we don't require this column. Now I want to bind these transactions while ensuring that each of the date or each of the transaction reflects the relevant customer name, ID, so and so, so and so. So what the formula I'll be using is, let to maximize, I'll use a if function. What logic of if function is, because we have all the headers of respective headings of respective pages in column E. Throughout our statement, we are having the respective labels. If you speak about this part or you go to the other part of the statements, everywhere it is in column E. All the details are in column E. So that way I'll verify whether the column E has that particular label. So if it is there, I'll try to capture the same. So what I'm trying to say is, I'll say if the respective column called E12 or the cell called E12 is equal to the same E12. What I meant to say is, in the given column, anywhere I come across, sorry, it was meant to use customer name. So I'm going to say if customer name is here equal to customer name. So while doing so, I'll freeze this by clicking F4. So what I'm trying to do is, across this particular column, wherever customer name is there, if I want to pull out comma the customer name. So wherever I come across this customer name, just call up the customer name. If not, copy whatever is there above that. So once I come across that customer name, it is going to copy that customer name. If I'm copying that below, it is going to repeat the same, because the next row doesn't have customer name. So immediately it has attracted the false condition where it is pulling up the above row. So that way I'm making use of this to bind, tag this particular transaction, and also helping me to bind the entire data. I'll repeat the same steps for the other things. Let me just quickly run through. I'll say customer ID is equal to customer ID. I'll freeze it. If so, call up the customer ID. If not, the above data. Repeat the same for others. I'm going to say if it is account name number in this field, call up the same account number. If not, call up the value which is there above. And so as in case of chart, I'll say if the field called chart of accounts is there, then equal to chart of accounts, say F4. If so, call up the category, if not the above value. Now this way I'm using this formula, copy it. Okay, let me reduce the screen size. So I'm going to copy these, go to control, and that is the last part of the statement. Go to the top 4 columns where I want to paste this formula. So once I paste that, as you can see, there is a change in the name. Why? Because in between, whenever there is a new customer statement has started, it has automatically picked up, because this particular column has a customer name. So from that cell onwards, it has identified that these transactions belong to another customer. So immediately it has tagged those for the respective customers. Once we have done that, what I'll do is I'll just copy and paste special, not to have any formulas. Now the best part of refining starts. I'll just ensure that, as usual, remove the top headers what we have, to see that my top row starts with the respective column labels. Now, because we have the field called value date, I'll use that. Okay, because as I said, once I use the date, it has the feature of grouping. So if I filter down, you can see all the dates, irrespective of whatever year it has grouped those. I just need to untick those dates to display the junk which I want to get rid of. Now I removed all those transactions which are having those transaction details. I've unfiltered those by getting only the junk visible over here. Same step, I'll place my cursor over here, Control Shift End. I'll say Control minus, get rid of that junk so that I have my proper data. Got it. Okay, if I want to get rid of those blank columns which are not required, I just get rid of that, saying this Control delete. I'll say delete. Okay, now I have proper data. Now this is where my analysis starts. What kind of analysis again? What is that you're trying to look is, as I said, these statements I have requested for the customers, sampled customers, not for current year, from the inception, because it's just a generation of customer statement. It doesn't require any printout and all. You just need to run that particular customer statement. So far, maybe 10 or 15 customers what I've sampled based on my sampling. Okay, because I want to ensure that I speak about the controls in terms of LFAR. I've requested right from the inception. Once I have this statement, I got the complete information of that customer, which includes when it was the loan was dispersed, when was the interest payment made, when was the debit entry happened, and all that stuff. So what I'll do is I'll just apply those filters. I'll take you to the file which has been refined. I'll apply the respective filters to identify under which group it falls into. Either it is a disbursement based on the credit, or whether it is an interest, or it falls into other charges. It's just application of filter. Even otherwise, we can see a smooth way of inquiring. Probably I'll try to display that also at this stage. You can make use of a summary function, so-called SUMIF, to identify any particular text. Let's say I'm looking for certain texts called interest. Wherever interest is there, I want to get the sum of all those transactions wherever narration has a text called interest. Now for this, usually what steps we do? We'll apply a filter. We'll go to the drop down. We'll say text. We'll say containing int. I'm going to filter all those, pick up those values, get the sum of it. Instead of that, and by doing so, what we are doing is we are not able to create a proper evidence for the procedures what we have followed. Because if I remove a filter, I lose what filter I have applied, unless I document it somewhere saying that no, I applied this filter. Instead of that, I can make use of a simple function called SUMIFS. Okay, the function is SUMIFS. What use I'll make use of SUMIFS? Where I'm doing for a textual analysis, a text-based analysis. So what I'll do is I'll use SUMIFS. What you want to get sum? Maybe obviously the debits. So for that, either I can use the mouse to go through this, or the easiest way is just select the entire table, use an option called Control Shift and F3. You say Control Shift F3, you are creating the references out of the labels. So whenever I call the particular labels, it is going to select this data. What I meant to say is I've opted for top row. Now, if I'm selecting debit amount, it is going to select the respective columns automatically. Okay, so whenever I say debit, it is going to call up. So if I'm saying is equal to debit, you can see it has selected this column. So that way, instead of using mouse, I'm making it job simpler just by typing, because I just need to remember the column headings. So what I'm going to summarize here is I'll use SUMIFS. Sum based on what? Obviously debits, because interest is there in the debit. On what base? Obviously the narration. Narration is carrying a heading called description. As I start typing description, it will throw up. I'll just say tab. Now out of which what you're looking for? I'm looking for a term called interest. So here I'll use a concept called wildcard. Okay, anywhere if someone of you have done the search in Windows, if I'm looking for a file called Vijay PDF, I'll do what? I'll say vijay.pdf, search in F3. Or if I am looking for a file where I'm not sure which part of file name is Vijay, whether it's the beginning or middle or end, I'll use wildcard saying star Vijay star PDF, so that I'll see all the files where it contains Vijay. Similar to that, I'll use this concept of wildcard while searching for this interest to summarize within double quotes. I'll say wildcard, I'll say int, end with wildcard, close the double quotes, enter. So what it has done, it has got all the sum of those narrations where account it is having interest. You are specific about getting interest of only one particular account. Let's say I want to get sum of this particular account. I'll just copy this in the SUMIFS formula itself. I'll add one more criteria saying that before getting on the interest, you pick up the interest of only those account number. I believe what is the tag we had? Account. Okay, fine. So I want to get the sum of only those accounts. I'll say account where it is having account number called this. Now it is going to get some of those interest which pertains to those given account. So that way I'm documenting my audit procedure. Somewhere if I refer to this plain, by going with the plain text, I'll get to know what is that I've done rather than applying a filter. So I see that I got this is the interest debit out of the given account. Okay. Now this is about the use of wildcard. You might say, do I have to keep on typing this text in the double quotes? It's not required. You can use a simple reference. Let's say I'm looking for either the term called interest or disbursement or penal. So what say, let's say I want to look for those. I have interest already. I might say I'm looking for a penal charges. I'm looking for something called disbursement. Wherever I come across this, so I'm going to use same sum if s, where I'll say some range of debit, wherein I'm looking for description, and instead of typing the text, I'll use this as a reference by following a simple text join function. I'll say wildcard joined with this reference, joined with another wildcard. Both put together just looks like star P and star. Once I execute that, I'm going to get the sum of all those penal charges out of this account. So you just need to have drop down of those accounts or probably have a list of those. At one go, you get the sum of all the information. So this is where you are using this sum if s function. That is one way. Now, once I've identified these disbursement, interest and all, what is that I'm making use? This is so good. I mean, someone can adopt. As I said, the team composition is very much important in our bank audit. Most of the time, what we see is a two-member team where it contains one partner or could be one associate or probably another partner. If you can compile your team size in such a way, you have a youngster who's good with hands-on in Excel, nothing like that. You can focus on those important areas of so-called circulars or the important areas of scope. Let the youngster take care of the Excel so that whatever information you're looking for, you compile and throw it to you. So that way, team composition, especially considering the present LFR, it's very much important. So if you can have a proper team size, nothing like that, and very much required in the present scenario. Okay, so why I'm saying so is this particular term loan, as I said, which captures majority of the NPA provisions, wherein it is more of automation, I'll create my own NPA chart. I'll not even depend on the Excel, report server. What I'm going to do is, you'll request a master file. What master file contains? Obviously, it contains what is the account category, what is the loan given to the customer, when was the loan dispersed, what is the term of the loan period, what is the EMI, when was the last date of the EMI which has been paid, or what is the first date. These are the master details which they'll generate. Okay. Now, using this, I can do certain analysis. What's that? First thing first, do we have rate here? We don't have rate in the given chart. I want to find out at what rate this loan has been dispersed. I can use a simple formula. Before that, I want to find out how many months this loan has been served. So I can use a function called date diff, which goes with date difference between two dates. This is actually a macro 4 function, which can't be directly used in Excel. Provided you use as a reference or use it in VB macro, you can still get it. Let's say I'm using date diff. As I said, you have to remember the syntax of date diff because it is not published in Excel. If I'm typing date, I can't see that date difference. So I have to remember the syntax that way I'll use. So let me just type the syntax for your reference over here. This goes with date diff, where you are saying the start date and the end date and what kind of format you are looking for. Format is nothing but what month, what my years, or the years to month, or my days to month, so and so, so and so. That is the format. Okay, like in a text function, what text function does, you can immediately pick up which week or which month it pertains to. Let's say I want to check which week it pertains to. I'll say DDD. It is going to pull out, it's a Friday on that given day. So likewise, the date diff also have this format text. So what I'm going to do is I'll use date diff to find out the difference between 2 days. So I'll say starting date, that is the loan disbursement date. Ending date, obviously 31st of March. We are doing audit as on 31st of March. I want to find out how many number of installments the customer should have paid. I want looking for months. I'll say M. So it is going to pull out the number of months. Let's convert into a general format so that we have a number. Now, This particular loan as on 31st of March should have served 49 installments. Okay, we'll also have a reference so that it will make our job easy. 2/1, instead of typing the date, I'll freeze the reference of this. I'll freeze row number 1, so that if I'm copying this across the table, I'll get to see what is the loan installment for each of the account. Of course, for 12, it has loaded up the different months because it could be a one-time loan kind of thing. Probably some segments where you have to close it within 12 months or so. But anyway, we are trying to identify those which actually are working on terms of interest. So here we got this. Let's say I want to find out a rate. We are not provided with the rate. So I'll use a simple function called rate. What I'll do is I'll say rate. NPER is nothing but the period. That is as if nth period. How many period months the loan has been given? So 97 months. What is the payment? That is the EMI. EMI is an outflow for us. I am going to prefix with negative. So I'm saying 4,000. What is the present value? Present value is nothing but the loan amount what the customer has taken. So it get to see that we see that it is 1%, but the rate what we have calculated is per month because we are converting into months, 97 months. So obviously I have to convert this into years. So this rate of interest is 12%. I'm going to copy this throughout. Forget about the other wherever part of the information is not provided. That is now I'll select this. Now, what is the clue you are getting? You are getting first of all, what is the interest rate for each of these accounts? Though banker has not provided, you can compile by using the part of the information what is provided. You get to see certain accounts running into 19%, certain running into -2 for some reason, 12, 40, 20, 15, 14. Okay, if it is the same product, whether there has been any deviation approval taken to reduction in the rate, if it is for the same year, all those things. Okay, this is one way. I want to cross check whether this formula is worked out fine. So if I want to calculate EMI, I'll use a function called PMT, where again I'll go with the same rate using the present value, that is the loan. What is the period for which the loan has been taken, that is 97 months, and the loan amount. So you are going to cross check. This is where it is matching with the loan amounts what we have in the adjacent column. So 4,000, 1,073, so and so, so and so. That's fine. Okay, we got the information what we are looking for. We are looking for what use I am going to make this. The customer has served 49 months, 48 months, so and so, so and so. I want to identify what actually a consolidated or so-called theoretical pay as on this day should be. So I'm going to use two more important functions which are called, in fact, the payment function what we have used is to calculate the interest. If I'm trying to, EMI, if I'm trying to find out what is the interest out of this, I'll use a function called IPMT. If I want to find out what is the principal out of this, I'll be using a function called PPMT. Now let me filter these unblank values. So I want to find out interest out of this. I'll use IPMT, obviously the rate divided by 12, and the period, for which period you want to find out. Let's say for the 49th month, I want to find out. So I'll say 49. For the 49th month, what is the break of this EMI? Out of which NPA is nothing but the number of months for which loan has been taken. Select that. And what is the loan amount customer has taken? That is the 2,50,000. Okay. And obviously, type and future value, we don't have any. Type is nothing but whether you want to calculate interest at the beginning of the month or at the end of the month. Obviously, it is going to be end of the month. IPMT to find out interest out of this 4,000. Similar to that, you have another function called PPMT, where I just need to modify the first alphabet. Instead of I, I'll say P. So the breakup of this 4,000 as on 49th month is 1,500 goes to interest, 2,484 goes to principal. Okay, this is fine. We found the breakup of those, but what we are interested is to find out the theoretical pay of this loan as on the date of audit. I'm going to use CUM IPMT and the CUMPRINIC, that is cumulative interest payment, cumulative principal as on the 49th month. So I'm going to use CUM IPMT. Syntax is pretty simple. You just need to interest. Always remember you convert into months because we are
I think some connectivity issue with Vijay sir. He will come back.
Deepak, are you calling him?
Yeah, I'm calling him, sir. I'll call him.
Short duration.
Very short, Vijay.
Very short, micro.
Again, I think it got stuck.
Technology, so we can't avoid sometimes. So coming back, I believe the screen where I've stopped, it's let me just continue from the beginning. I believe this is where it got a break. So cumulative interest, what we are trying to do is I want to find out what is the total interest the customer would have paid as on this date, because as I said, we are working on a theoretical pay. So I'm going to use CUM IPMT, where I'll use the features of the rate divided by 12, and I'm looking for the period for which the loan has been taken, and the loan amount, that is the present value, and I'm looking for the starting period. Obviously, it is going to be 1 from the first month till 49 months is what I want to find out. And the interest, the type, obviously the interest will be calculated at the end of the period. So I'm going to use 0. So what it says is the customer, considering the given constraints, given information, interest should have been paid 98,000 as on the date of my audit. Similar to that, I'll copy the formula because the syntax of cumulative principal is also pretty same, except for the function name. So instead of CUM IPMT, I'll say CUM PRNIC. So I'm going to get the cumulative principal. Both put together, actually the customer should have paid 1,96,000 as on 31st of March, right from the date of disbursement. Now I'll use this simple factor to check what is the total payments customer has paid as on this date. If there is a variation and that variation is going beyond 3 months, that is where I don't even have to get into the NPA report and all. This itself shows the total payment you should have made and what is the actual theoretical pay you should have paid and what is the actual payment. That way, comparing this particular thing. That is one aspect what we are seeing using a accumulation factor. Now there is another factor what we can make use of. That is nothing but constructing your own EMI chart. Obviously, as you know, we have used these financial functions and all. So it's not about only EMI rate. You can even calculate for what is the loan period the customer should have been paid using a particular function called NPER. We will not get into those financial functions. What I'm going to do is I'm going to construct my own EMI chart. Okay, as I said, this entire homework, what I'm showing you, this is with regard to one bank. It hardly took 3 hours for me to prepare. Maybe a student might take 1 day or 2, doesn't matter, but it's worth. Why it is worth? For the reason that those sampled accounts what I've taken the schedule, starting schedule date, using of course the same VLOOKUP from the master to pick up what is the loan starting date. From there, considering the number of EMIs what he should have paid as on the date of audit, I'll just construct the same EMI chart using the VLOOKUP only. And theoretical pay, obviously it's a consolidation of each month how much you should have paid by that particular period. And these are the information which we are pulling from the customer statement. If you remember, we started with the customer statement. From the transaction statement, I'm calling up the sum of actual amount he should have repaid. If you remember SUMIFS function, the one what we have used, what is the total payment of other charges, what is the repayment amount. Once I have that, I just need to compare based on the theoretical pay, whether that particular amount is paid as on that date. If it is not paid for continuously for 3 months, I'm going to use a normal if formula saying that I'll classify it as an NPA. If not, I'll leave it. I do this for all those sampled accounts what I picked up. I'm having a proper NPA chart constructed out of the customer statement. Please remember, not out of the report server. Okay, as I said, I don't want to trust the report server, honestly saying, because still the banker has a control on the period and the respective date. Okay, now I've constructed the NPA chart. Obviously, if the NPA is running beyond 12 months, I've classified it as doubtful asset 1. So as doubtful asset 2. Going back to the last part, obviously something has classified as loss asset. Now, out of those sampled accounts, I have this chart. And not only those, for the sampled account, I have also classified whether it is which year it has turned out to be substandard. As you know, once it has classified as an NPA, that has to move into substandard. During any period of 12 months, once it is in NPA, it has to be classified as substandard in the reporting. So I'm trying to identify the given accounts which years it should have been probably considered as a substandard. Now, this is a substandard chart. These accounts should have been substandard from 2018 onwards, or some accounts from 2016, some accounts throughout their journey. Now, this I'll compare with the substandard report, what the banker has shared with me, whether these accounts are there. If they are there, fine. If they are not there, then that's where I have to be more focused on, because I'm speaking about integrity. I'm speaking about the controls. It's not about one particular account. And that control ratio is more and more. I'm getting more and more accounts deviating. I should be more cautious about branch profile. I should be more cautious about commenting those in my LFERs or so. So this is the chart. As I said, we are not depending on the customer statement. We are depending on our own. And one more important tool at this point of time before we take up questions I can share is, let me just open that file and just show you 1 second. And maybe certain important aspects we might cover in the next session when we are going to have physical, which obviously they are taking a call to if permissible in live streaming and all. So certain important tools what we can think of using, which of course requires little detailed explanation and all. So one more is I can make use of this goal seek. What exactly is a goal seek? It comes under the data, a particular what if analysis. Under that, adjacent to data tools, you have analysis forecast. Under forecast, you have what if analysis. What if analysis is nothing but so-called something called relevant to a reverse engineering. I mean, something similar to reverse engineering, where it will reconstruct to see what exactly should have been to reach a particular goal. That is what goal seek is. Where I'm using goal seek is, banker has provided information saying 8.5%. He said the loan tenure is 24 months. The loan amount is 7,50,000. He said EMI is 23,561. But using these, if you remember, I was using a function called PMT. I have calculated the EMI. It is working out to 34,000. So there is a difference of 10,000 and odd. I want to identify which part banker would have modified, or which part there could be a change which has reduced the EMI. What I'll do is I'll use a goal seek, wherein this check is nothing but the difference between my EMI calculation and the banker's provided EMI. Once I get this formula, I'll do a goal seek to check what should have been the actual period. So the way we can use goal seek, I've also mentioned as a picture, which you can refer to later. So I'll say goal seek. What is the set target? This target, I want to make it as 0. Why I want to make it as 0? If only that both amounts are same, then only it will turn out to be 0. That means I want to equate my EMI with the banker's EMI. To equate my EMI with the banker's EMI, I want to check whether the loan period has been modified. You can check on other aspects also, could be rate or whatever. As I said, banker has a control on the period of the month, period of the loan, or the date. So I'm choosing the period. So I'll run the goal seek. So what it says, to match with this EMI, the actual EMI period should have been 36 months, not 24 months. So what if banker is modifying 36 months to 24 months? Obviously, my EMI is overpaid. It's considered to be excess paid. Obviously, it looks like an advance. So never it will come into IRAC. If I'm making 2 months payment, that will be adjusted towards 5 months of payment or so-called. Is it not? By just changing the months. So I'm using goal seek to identify what actually should have been the period given the information provided to me. I'm reconstructing to check what actual period should have been. Now, do I have to do this again and again for each of the account? Now we have these term loan accounts, various term loan accounts. Do I have to check whether the banker has considered the EMI properly or whether the banker has considered the rate properly? I don't have to do. There is a simple loop function what we can do, a macro loop. Okay, we'll not get into technicality. I'll share the macro anyway. What I do is I use PMT. The rate, obviously we have rate because it's just in figure. I'll fix percentage to that, divided by 12. Period, obviously we don't have period. Banker has not provided the period. So I'll put a dummy value, whatever is there in there. I'll refer to that as NPER. Present value, as usual, the loan amount. This is the loan amount. I'll close. Okay, and some fields we have to ensure. Okay, maybe because we have not entered. Okay, so I have entered a dummy value called 1. Okay, as if 1 month kind of thing. What I'm doing is this formula, considering 1 month, what should have been the EMI? Now to this, I'll deduct the banker's provided EMI. Okay, so I got the difference because this is negative. I think we better add it because that is a positive value. This is negative value. So it got reduced. Now what I'm doing is I'm using a goal seek to reverse calculate to see that this turns out to be zero. How it will turn out to be zero? If only the term of that is matching in such a way that EMI will be 3,126. This one should turn out to be in such number of months so that it converts into 3,126. Why I'm doing this? As I said, in fact, no matter whatever bank I requested for that matter, the report what they provide, definitely it will have one column option. Whether it will not have rate, if the rate is there, period may not be there. If period is there, loan sanction initial month may not be there. If it is there, some other information. So I have to use certain tools where I can reconstruct to cross check or even otherwise reconstruct. So what I'm doing is I'm just copying this. Let's say I'm copying this one throughout my table, and I'm also copying this formula throughout my table. So as we have done a goal seek, is it not? I'll say.
Vijay, sorry to disturb you. For a long time, I'm just stuck on this screen. I'm not sure if others are also having the same problem. I'm unable to see the copying, the formulas.
Okay. I got it. Sorry.
Now it moved.
Yeah. Sorry for that. In fact, that's the reason I'm somehow I'll address it once the session is over. I'll see what exactly is there with the Zoom window. So here, just to come back, I believe this entire screen was not visible earlier.
Yeah. Yes.
Not. If it's okay with the members, I can continue for 10 more minutes to finish out this thing else. Okay.
Yeah, please. It's very important. And more than 240 people are there, Vijay. So please continue.
Sure. I'll be more privileged. Even if you want me to continue for next hour, I'm there. Not a problem. So here, what I was doing is just sorry for that. While sharing the screen, I think I missed out this particular because everything looks like an Excel for me. So what I've done is, this is the information what I was mentioning that the banker has provided to me. Banker has provided the rate of interest. He has provided the interest installments for which the loan has been taken. What is the loan amount? And banker said that 23,561 is the loan amount. But I want to recalculate to see whether it is actually 23,561 or it is anything different. So that is where I've used a function called PMT, which is similar to the function which you have used earlier, where I'm calculating EMI based on the information provided to me. So I'm checking on the rate and the period and the loan amount. So it has worked out to be 34,091, whereas the banker provided as 23,561. So difference of these two is 10,530. Now I'm trying to construct using what if analysis goal seek in such a way that I want to validate the information provided by the banker. If in case any change has been done, which particular area he would have changed it. So what I'm doing is I'm finding the difference between the banker's EMI and the EMI I've calculated using the PMT. So difference works out to 10,530. So what I'll do is I'll go to data in Excel. Under data, I go to forecast. Under forecast, you have what if analysis. There I'll select goal seek. What goal seek does is, as I said, it will calculate in a reverse way. If in case the target has to reach by changing certain variables, what is the change it should have done? It's like permutation combination kind of thing. So what I'm saying is you construct this in such a way that you make this value as 0 while changing cell. So obviously, as I said, I'll be opting for that particular field where branch has control. As I was mentioning earlier, branch has control on the date field, branch has control on the months field. Okay. So in this case, I'm opting for the month to check whether the amount, the differential amount, what actually should have been the months if it has to arrive at 23,561. Because we got the different figure. I'll say okay. So what goal seek does is it will construct that by converting this to 0 by changing these months. Now we can see that the actual period should have been 36 months, not 24 months as the banker has provided. So here, while working as 36 months, then only the EMI has turned out to 23,561. Now, if in case 36 months, why is that it has been changed to 24 months? What happens is if I'm reducing the EMI, it's nothing but the payment what I'm making, it is being adjusted in excess. It's taking care of the next month EMI as well, part of it. So it's like I'm paying 2 months of EMI, it is adjusting towards 3 months. So simple logic. So I might question whether it is a genuine reason of rescheduling it, wherein it has been reduced from 36 to 24, or is it that any manual intervention is there purposefully? Okay, so I'm using goal seek to cross-validate certain fields given by the bank. Now this I have to do that for each of the account. Every time I have to keep on entering goal seek and all. It's not required. You can record a macro, whatever we have done, the steps, I'll record a macro. I'll call those macro as a loop. We'll see that simple macro also. Of course, we will not get into technicality. So what I've done is just to repeat what I was doing in the absence of the screen. I'm putting some dummy term loan period. It's like 1 month kind of thing. I'm using the field to construct my EMI, where I'm saying the rate given by the banker, that is 7%. So I'm mentioning as percentage by 12, and the period for which loan has been taken. As I said, we don't have the period information provided by the banker. So I'm referring to the dummy field where I've mentioned as 1, and I'm referring to the loan amount what the customer has taken. Okay, so put together, it works out to 3,52,000 for the 1 month EMI, but the EMI banker has provided 3,126. So I'm trying to use goal seek to identify what actually should have been the loan term, because that information is not there. Even otherwise, I want to validate the EMI, whether there is any reschedulement happened. So what I'll do is I'll find out the difference between my EMI and the banker's EMI. So it works out to some figure. I'll copy this throughout my table, all the term loans what he has shared. Now I keep on validating this to check what actually should have been the term to map with this 3,126. So that is where instead of using goal seek again and again saying goal seek, you modify it to 0 by changing this cell. You say, okay, it will keep on running all that stuff. Instead of that, I can call up that macro as a loop. So what I've done is, if I go to the developer, just to show the script of a loop, don't get into technicalities. It's a simple script. What I said, for every X in the given column, that is Q, that is where I've entered the formula, call up the goal seek. That is a macro what I've recorded, a goal seek. Just call that macro, that's it, nothing else. You keep running, calling that particular macro. So I'll place my cursor over here. I'll go to macro. I'll run macro loop. So without our intervention, the Excel is keep on calculating what should have been the term for that particular. Once it reaches to the last part of it, we'll say end. Now what it is that in just a matter of seconds, it has calculated what should have been the loan period for this given loan, where the banker has not provided the loan term, though banker has not provided the last EMI date, still I could construct based on the information provided to me what should have been the loan term. It says 180 months, 260 months, 175 months, right from the sanction date. As usual, if I have to find out what is the last date of the EMI, I'll say last date. So I'll use a function called eDate, exact date, where from this sanction date, using this months, what should have been the last date of the EMI. I'm going to see what is the last date of the EMI. I also want to find out how many months he should have paid. As if you remember, we are using a date function where I'll say date diff, what is the start date? Obviously, it's the start date, and the end date being this. Let's freeze row number 1, where I'm looking for months. So I'm getting for how many months so far the loan has been served. So given the part information, I could construct the loan period. I could construct the last EMI. I could construct what is the loan you would have paid. And once you get this, obviously we have seen how to get the theoretical pay using cumulative IPMT, cumulative principal, and that's where I can use this goal seek. Okay, so this is one. And one more important area not to miss upon, though the particular purpose of that particular law is different, so-called Benford's law. I'm sure many of you people who are doing forensic audit, you would have come across or you would have used it, a particular Benford's law. What obviously Benford's law does is, it is considering the natural flow of the numbers. If any deviation is there, if any unusual transactions is there, it will throw up an odd percentage. Okay, so just to mention, I believe I'm sharing the right screen. 1 second, yes. So if I'm speaking about Benford's law, I just construct the Benford's law fastly more than anything, because we are trying to understand where we can use this Benford's law. So what Benford's law does is, if I'm checking what is the first digit, so I'm saying left of this particular to pick up the first digit to copy throughout, and I want to find out the occurrence of this number by using 1, 2 to see what is the percentage of occurrence of these numbers. So I'm using countif, where I'll say countif of this entire range, wherein it is matching with this particular number. So I'll do a countif, do the sum of it to see that the percentage of occurrence of this number is this divided by this. Okay, to convert into percent. This data is nothing but the stock data which I've downloaded maybe 2 days back, live data. So I'm using on the live data to understand Benford's law. I'm just copying this. So it says occurrence of these numbers was number starting with 1 is 32%, 17%, so on. So I'm using now the Benford's law, what he has suggested. It is going to be log 10 of 1 plus 1 by the nth number. So I'm going to, this is what Benford has suggested, saying that considering the natural flow of the numbers, this should have been the occurrence. If someone is manually intervening, there will be a huge deviation between the numbers. Okay, so this is about Benford's law. It says number starting with 1 will be occurring so and so. Where I'll be using this Benford's law is, I'll use this in a related party transaction. How is that I'm going to do? Let me take to one more file where I've imported multiple statements of related parties. Okay, I'll share the screen. So usually what we do, if I'm seeing a group exposure, I'll use a tool called consolidate. That's a secondary. Of course, I'm not addressing on the consolidation. I'm trying to use Benford's law in this case. This is statement 1 of one party. Okay. And this is statement 2 of another party. This is statement 3 of another party. So where I'll be using Benford's law is usually what we do, we want to see a flow of transaction. What we usually do is we'll copy a customer statement, take up another related party of the customer. Maybe it is a family member, or could be a HUF member, or could be a director of the same company, could be director of another company where there is a network, all this stuff. Once I have those statements, I'll place one below other, sort it based on a date to see what is the flow of the transaction, whether there is a debit in this account, credit in this account. But instead of that, because if I'm doing that, I'm consuming so much of time, I can't keep on repeating that. Instead of that, I'll make use of Benford's law in a way. It will help me that common area which is common across both the accounts. So I'm going to use left of this, pick up the first digit, sorry, debits we are trying to interpret the debits. So I'm going to pick up left of this as 1. So copy the entire data, what we are having. Okay, once we have that, we have some junk over here, it's not required. Okay, once we have that, I'll just call up the same way I've done with the Benford, where I'll call up the 9 digits number starting with all these 9 digits and all. And I'll use the count if, where I'm looking for the sum of these digits match starting with the 1. Once I have so, I'll copy this for the rest of the table, and I'll see the percentage of occurrence of this particular number, so that we'll get the total first of all. So I'm seeing the occurrence of this number out of the given number. Consider that to be percentage, copy that throughout the table. Okay. Somewhere I put minus, that's the reason it is copied as minus. Anyway. So I'm identifying the Benford's percentage of occurrence of these numbers. I'm using Benford's law here to check what actually should have been the natural flow. So you can even otherwise familiar with the numbers. It is going to be 30%, 17%, 12%. Otherwise, so you can even instead of using formula again and again, you can memorize these numbers because they are going to be fixed, because they are rule based. So it is going to be fixed. So once I do so, I'll identify that number which is deviating to the highest level. Now, as you can see, this is of course one of the customer statement which I've used. A number starting with 4, occurrence should have been around 9%. It is totally deviating, coming to around 27%. So I'm not trying to pick up as a red flag out of this statement. I'll run the same Benford's law on the other statement by using the same thing. Of course, you might be checking on the debt part because you are checking one account credit part. You'll be checking debt part in the other statement because to see the link between these two. But I'm, for the sake of example, I'm running on the debts only. So I'll again copy the formula over here, whatever I had, so that I'll get the same straight away without wasting time. So it is going to be I4 is where I pasted. I4 is where I pasted, just to refer to this total. Okay. Now I'm seeing some common occurrence where in the Benford, as per Benford's law, there is a number starting with 4, which is in a high occurrence. So as in case of the other related party, this I'm saying I'll be comparing the debit of one account, credit of an account. Same I'll do for the debit of this account, the credit of that account. Again, it's like both ways, and see what is the common occurrence of number throughout this. Now that is where I'll pick up those transactions where there is some similarity in terms of occurrence of those numbers to see if in case there is a flow between these two accounts. As I said, instead of copy pasting one statement below other, opting for the sorting and trying to check, at least I'm highlighting those the red flags, so-called areas where I have to concentrate more to see if there is any link between those related party transactions. So this is one which you can make use. Though the purpose of Benford's law is not that, but I'm trying to save my time to analyze much better way, much faster way. So I'm taking use of this Benford's law to analyze the related party transactions. So as I keep on going, it will be like, no, probably it will be like more like a Shivratri. You have to probably wake out the entire nights. So I'll try to conclude at this point of time. Hope I've tried to put those into more than any. Of course, as I said, it requires so many kind of. Just I request you to get familiarized with this couple of functions, or even better ways. Just pick up one guy, youngster who is good with the hands-on. Take up for these 10 days of work. Let it be of some use so that you are concentrating on that area where you as a professional has to be, because obviously you have to think of beyond this data in terms of the scope what we are addressing. That is one important aspect. So with this, I'll try to conclude my presentation. And
thank you, Vijay sir.
Thank you.
Sir, with your permission, now I'm requesting Deepak Bhai to take up question answers.
Deepak, before you take question answers, hello. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, audible.
So Vijay, my suggestion is,
yes,
I was all throughout traveling and I was listening to the entire discussion.
Okay.
One thing which I realized is, if we can do one thing, even Bhanu sir is here.
Okay.
If our members are able to get their systems one of the days to branch, we have Brahmaya Hall, which is totally renovated now.
Okay.
We can actually take them through a hands-on experience.
Yeah, always better.
See, this idea they might have got theoretically perfectly right. But the second side is basically now, till the time you don't do a hands-on experience to pull out, one of the days might be Machar is not there, I believe. But Satish and Deepak are here. If you are able to plan, Deepak, a day before around 31st of 30th of March to do a hands-on experience, I think it will be very good.
Sure, sir. We'll definitely do. We'll plan and take the time of Vijay sir and Premnath sir, and we'll coordinate, sir. We'll fix it.
Surely. Deepak, can you please take up question answers?
Yeah. Sir, the first question is from C.A. Durga Prasad. Is there any non-crossing threshold limit of lower of 10% or 10 crore? Then how to take the sampling?
See, I mean, as I said, bankers are clear in terms of those 10% threshold. Rest of all, as I said, SCS is one where you can make. Obviously, no, you can't fix upon, depending on the branch profile. Let's say if I'm coming across a branch profile where it is more into gold loans, agri gold loans, my way of sampling will be different. I might be going into appraisal part. I might be going in terms of those particular areas. So it depends on the branch profile. If you take up a common profile, as I said, the best way is stratify the data. Apart from those 10%, try to pick up at least 5% of the each category, which is going beyond 5% of the advances, so that you are covering at least 60 to 70% of the portfolio more than anything. And 60 to 70% in terms of transaction audit. The same thing we do in terms of documentation also, where we'll cover the documentation. As I said, ultimately it's a team composition. Doing with the 2-3 people, I think it will be risky in given time. You have to not just about sampling, how much you're concentrating on the sample. Just because I'm saying that I've sampled this, I've mentioned in the LFR saying that I've followed a proper statistical sampling, and because based on this I've identified, that's not enough. You have to create supporting saying that you have gone through 100%, because sample is not about, you don't have sample out of sample, is it not? Sampling is to go for 100%. Once you picked up a sample, you have to create an evidence saying that you have verified it 100%. How you are going to verify? How you are going to justify that? Obviously, by mentioning all those evidences, all those appropriate procedures, what you have followed, analytical procedures you have followed, you have to document all those, the steps what we have followed, or those one which will at least create an evidence saying that I've run through these statements, I've analyzed these statements. Based on this analysis, I could conclude. So at least you have some evidences. So that's how, as I said, branch profile is one. Second thing, once you have picked up a sample, don't shy away going for a 100% derivation. If it has to take some time, more than 2 days, 3 days, doesn't matter. You ensure that, because this particular LFR, as I said, I'll be surprised after this LFR, if I don't see increase in the cases. When I say cases, obviously DC cases or could be any kind of that kind of reporting it requires. So be very cautious whenever you're commenting something. Ensure that you have a proper evidence, proper justification, proper workings, and everything should be just follow the SCS. Standardize your audit approach. At least this is the time where you, as I said, no, this is the beginning of the end. You know, the kind of audits what we are going to take. This has started and it's going to end somewhere. And this is just a beginning of our era of so-called bank audits or various kind of so-called detail or whatever audits we are discussing about. So sample, you just go with the profile, go with the stratification. That's the only suggestion I can give.
Thank you, sir. The next question is same from Durga Prasad, sir. Is importing from PDF file is available in MS Office 2016 version?
Yeah, it is very much available. It is available from 2013 onwards.
The next question is from Gautam Kumar, sir. For SBI audits, how to convert text to column, as while converting data, we are not able to convert properly. At the same time, the bank does not provide the tool for conversion text to Excel.
No, we don't require tools. So text to Excel, you study that. As I was saying, you study whether it is in a fixed, does it have any separators like comma or special characters, or it has only tab related. If it is a tab related, fixed width will do. If it is not, you go with the delimiter. There is no way that you can't import. Okay, if it is a normal kind of text file and all, or for that matter, any kind of file, XML or all, you can import. It's only that couple of steps. As I said, probably if the video is available for recording, maybe the branch is going to upload in the YouTube, you can just revisit to see the steps, what I've done. If in case you are having an issue, you can reach to the branch or to me. I will try to assist, not a problem at all.
Okay. The next question is from Mr. Mallesham, sir. On the exceptional transaction audit, as we all know, there is a tendency of the branch manager to allow TODs in current accounts of the customer occasionally for making the gaps in EMI or the shortfalls, interest service, whatever. Is there, in the short span of time, how can we cope up and find out the exceptional report both in the Finacle and Bankers software is the question.
Yeah, see, I suggest you ask for the exceptional report. There's no harm. Even if they don't provide, as I said, as you're asking for different reports or different reports in different ways, you yourself can do gap analysis. If a particular account is there in a probable NPA or substandard till a particular part of month, and suddenly at the end of March, it has moved into standard, that itself shows there is an exception. You pick up those accounts, go for your detailed verification. It's not that you have to depend on the exceptional report generated by the system itself. You can do your exceptional analysis by going for a gap analysis between the reports. As I said, don't just go for 1 month report or the March closure report. Ask for the same report in different dates. It will be easy for you to go for gap analysis.
Okay, sir. The next question is from Suryanarayan, sir. I think our Central Council member Daya sir has already said can we have the material or link on the branch website, a possible step-by-step commands on the various functions, which will help us to practice it?
Yeah, I can share the material, but again, it has to go in sync with the videos. It has to go in sync with the hands-on workshop. It's not just by viewing or not by going through Excel, you get that. It has to be hands-on. I mean, if you are doing audit, it's not that one-time learning. We have run through 3 years of articles. We have run through 18, 15, 20 years of experience. That's where we come to this stage where at least we could not 100%, if not 100%, at least we could justify. If I can do with my domain, you are speaking about Excel, and you know how much of probably practice it requires. So obviously it requires hands-on, as the ISR was suggesting very aptly.
Deepak, if you can just announce a batch where either in branch, if we have a limitation of parking and other things, you can use Center of Excellence, where we have we can connect both the classrooms on the ground floor through video, where it can directly go through. And Vijay Srinivas sir and Premnath sir can be there in both the classes. Easily 100+ people we can train them, or even otherwise auditorium also we can use it for the benefit. So what will happen is full day session you put, so that piece by piece they can actually go and understand, because this time it is very critical for our auditors to pull out information. We'll request Premnath sir also, even if it is working day, we have to go and do bank audit for sure, correct? So the training and the data extraction, data collation, data mining need to be done, no doubt. What we can do is in 2 phases we can do it, with articles and without with principles. So decide which one you want. Accordingly, we'll schedule it.
Sure, sir. Definitely we'll be in touch. I'll talk to Chairman sir also, and we will be in touch, sir. Okay, over to you, Secretary sir. The questions are over.
Yeah, thank you, Vijay sir. Thank you, Deepak bhai. Now I'm requesting our past chairman CA YV Banaran Garu to give closing remarks.
Thank you, Satish. As usual, it was a very victorious session by Vijay. I always, whenever I have a chance to introduce Vijay, I always say V is for Vijay and V is for victory, because all these sessions ensure that we achieve victory in conducting the audit in a very scientific manner, in a very precise manner with the use of technology. And today also, Vijay has lived up to his reputation, and he has in fact tried to give the presentation in a very lucid manner, so that even people who are not so much acquainted with technology like me can try and understand. And Dayaji, every year, except last year because of COVID restrictions, we used to have a 2-day workshop on hands-down experience on using of technology and bank audits. We used to have it in our Emerald House. So as you suggested, we can have it this year in either in Brahmaya Hall by engaging this Maruti Gardens parking area if it is available, or we can come to Center of Excellence. But that is going to make a whole lot of a difference, because what you hear will stay for some time, but what you do with your own hands and learn, that will remain for a very longer time, and you'll be able to handle the audits better. Vijay Srinivas, at this point, I would like to bring two practical issues which keeps coming to the minds of several CAs, especially who get small bank audits, small branch audits. One, whether we should take our own laptops, or whether this exercise can be done on the systems at the branch. Because if systems at the branch are to be used in remote places, they trouble us by saying that they can give only at end of day. Second thing is, with all this technology, this rural branches, agricultural advances, I think if you can give the useful tips, just like just now you said that agri gold loans and similar such other loans given for agriculturists, especially when there is so much of subjectivity in identifying the NPAs because of very prolonged and very liberal repayment terms and reschedulement terms based on government orders from time to time, depending on the calamities and other factors. I think if you can add a small session chapter on these issues in your practical training class, which our chairman and the branch will be planning shortly, I think it will be very useful to several of our members, because most of them get small branches at remote places. So I think I'm not asking you for too much. I hope you will be able to
maybe just to interrupt, because you have raised this point, I'll just add a 30-second or probably 1 minute kind of point. When it comes to agri gold loans, because I could see that around 200 people are still there, agri gold loan document is very important, because they will not have any bank branch inspection, unlike agri loan where they have to inspect the land, get a neighbor check and all that stuff. Agri gold loan doesn't require any inspection, doesn't require any original document. It just requires a copy of the Patta passbook. By virtue of that, they are getting 2% of interest subvention. So what we'll see is many people in the shadow or the shelter of this agri gold loan, they take the benefit of this 2%. As you know, in villages they lend it for 3 rupees, 4 rupees kind of thing. So concentrate, if you are coming across agri gold loan, go for the documentation to check whether the same Patta passbook is being used. In case one of the bank audit, I could see one Patta passbook used across 300 accounts, one in a particular branch. So concentrate on the documentation part to avoid this interest submission. I thought I'll just add this 1 minute note now that Managar has raised this particular thing. Yes, sir. Please continue. Sorry for that.
Thank you, Vijay. That's Vijay actually, always ready with his answers, and his quiver is always full of arrows, and his weaponry is so huge and ammunition is so much that he can answer any question on technology and bank audit. In fact, we all from Hyderabad are very proud of that we have you, Premnath, and Saran as our technology guides and our technology go-to men. And I think very soon we'll all be discussing, Team Hyderabad will huddle and we'll come out with the dates for the practical session on how to use Excel and other technology for effectively for bank audit purposes. Thank you, Satish, for giving me this wonderful opportunity. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Bhanu sir. Now it's time to show our gratitude to today's speaker. I am requesting Deepak Bhai Ladda to present a certificate of appreciation to today's speaker, please. Deepak Bhai. Sir, please accept our.
Is it visible?
Yeah,
Yeah,
visible. Very much visible.
मेरा आया नहीं अभी तक.
Sir, we will give you, sir. Vijay sir, please accept the token of gratitude from the entire managing committee of Hyderabad branch.
Yes, thank you.
We'll deliver in physics, sir, to you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Deepak Bhai. Now it's time for giving vote of thanks. Daya Bhai, do you want to talk anything just for before everyone? Yeah, on behalf of Hyderabad branch of ICI, we sincerely thank all the participants for today's seminar. We thank Speaker of the Day, CA Vijay Srinivas. Sir, we are really thankful for accepting our request to address our members. Even though your calendar is full till month ending, you taken out some time and gave to us. We really thank you once again. I hope and assume our members will take care of SAR's advice and take advice in their bank audit while performing their duties also. We thank CA Dayaneva Sharma, CA Macharao Minoli, our branch chairman, CA Deepak Bhai Ladda, CA ACS Reddy Garu, CA Pankaj Trivedi, our immediate past chairman, CA Bhanaran Garu, and all the members for presenting today. We and our staff members also. We really thank all of you for continuous support to Hyderabad branch and request to extend the same in future also. With this, I am signing up for this day and we'll meet very soonly at the shortest time. Thank you once again, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you all the participants for your patience.
Thank you, Vijay sir.
Thank you, Vijay sir. Thank you, Bhanu sir.
Thank you, Deepak.